What's going on, guys? In this video, I am going to attempt to answer an email question. I couldn't really find the right words to respond with as I was writing it, so I thought maybe if I shot a video, it will just come to me. Let's find out. Um, Basically, I had asked this one of my friends I was in a dialogue with here. I asked, what is your relationship with God or with something higher? And by God, I mean the intelligence of life. I don't mean some guy with a beard and a flowy robe that's sitting down watching out. You know what I mean? Not the thing that we were brought up on in like youth group, or if you were raised religious. And religion has so much value and so much to offer in bringing a connection to God, but that could be a whole nother video, so let's just stick with this. Let's stick with this premise here. By God, I mean the intelligence of life, the intelligence of the universe, by the higher order in the cosmos. You know what I mean by the how things, the synchronicities, the whatever that force is behind evolution, behind growth. That's what I mean by God, by that connection to the one, to how everything is interconnected. So I was asking, he was talking about, he was kind of getting stuck in this void-like energy where it felt like not a lot was happening. And I've been there so much. And so I asked, what is your relationship with something higher? And he said that he mentioned religion, like we talked about, and that he was Christianed, I think the word is, and that's as far as he got with it, and that it says his relationship with his higher self seems to fluctuate. Yeah, welcome to the club. And what I wanted to get to with this question is, like, I'm not talking about God in the religious sense. I think I've covered that. Not saying that's wrong or doesn't have value, because it definitely can. But it can be an impediment as well if we're looking at it from a dualistic perspective, as religion can do at times. I remember sitting in Portland for months, like 2 or 3 months, just sitting every day. I had this opening in my third eye. I could see reality as it was. I had a sense of somewhat of a sense of peace, being connected to the silence and the spaciousness of all there was, and realizing that I myself was that silence and spaciousness. But there was this flatness that I know exactly what you're talking about, like not much happening on an energetic level, and just sitting there, day after day. Or going up into the rainforest in Forest Park in Portland and just sitting with the trees and just wondering, like, what now? I didn't feel moved to do anything. I was very unmotivated to do anything in an outward way. The only movement that felt in alignment, truthfully, was sitting and being and going within and I wasn't beating myself up about it. I wasn't feeling guilty. I just accepted it. I got it. I was like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Fine. No problem. But I reached the point where I was like, okay, what now? What is the next movement? And that's when I finally reached out for help. And I got a hold of my spiritual teacher, Craig Holiday. Such a beautiful person and just so helpful to anyone on this path. Couldn't recommend him enough. And I remember he asked me that question. He asked me, what is your relationship with God, to God? And at the time, I was really kind of thrown off by the question, in all honesty. I didn't really know. And I said, the truth was, and I said it was, I'm starting to maybe think of that relationship of something higher, of coming into contact and asking and being one with life and all that. And he said, well, what do you imagine when you think of God? What image comes into your head? And I said, just this kind of like this energy, this soft, beautiful, like just this loving energy. That's what came to my head. And he said, well, that's really good. And I don't remember the exact conversation, but I remember leaving that. It was my first time talking to him. It was a Skype session. I remember leaving the session with this newer desire to understand what he was talking about of how to connect to God. And he kept asking, "Oh, Matt, open your heart." Kept telling me, "Open your heart." And so a few days later, maybe 2 days later, me and my friend at the time, we were on this hike and in Forest Park with these beautiful, humongous trees, and it was an overcast day. Had this very mystical feel to it, or something like that, a very powerful feel to it. And I said, "I'm gonna wait here. Go ahead." And she went down to the car, and I was just standing there in the trees, looking at the trees, and I just remember closing my eyes and saying, "God, use me as a vessel for your love and your peace. Come through me. Come through me and speak as me, act as me, and help me to step to the side and let your grace flood me and flow through me, and let your divine will take over and help me to let go. Help me do whatever I'm supposed to do. Guide me to my path, guide me to my purpose." Something like that. And that was my first real, I feel, sincere opening to the possibility of a higher movement coming into my experience, into my life. Even though I had already went through this insane, terrifying, phenomenal, out-of-body experience of a Kundalini awakening, this was literally the first time I was like, I'm willing to let my egoic self surrender. I'm willing to take my hands off the wheel and to let something higher come through. Because up until that point, I was still so fixated on getting what I wanted and me being the ultimate conductor of my experience. And me not just honestly being able to have the courage. Like, I didn't have the courage to ask God to come into me because I was scared of what would happen. You know, a Kundalini awakening can be very rough and turbulent and can really shake you up. And I wasn't prepared. I didn't feel for like more like energy or more beyond my mind's ability to understand experiences to happen. And I finally got to a point after like months of just sitting of like, okay, there's got to be something more. And that's what led to that conversation with my teacher Craig, and that's what led to the prayer in Forest Park. And then 2 days later, I started a blog, the Kundalini Diaries. I wrote 6 posts in like 3 days or something crazy. Learned how to put the whole thing together. It was just like this, I had so much energy coming through me for this. It was the first time I had felt like passion about something, a purpose. I was like, whoa, this is what I'm supposed to do. I just knew it. There was no doubt in it. It was so strong. This energy was just flooding me. And it was just, these posts were just coming out of me telling my story and just putting the site together and just having so much fun and just all day, every day. It was the first time I had ever experienced anything like that. And that's what shifted things for me when I was in that state of flatness and in kind of like the void and just sitting there. And even today now, you know, like the way I look at it is my third eye and crown was open and I was just sitting there for months in that spaciousness of that, in that void and that peace. And then I started my blog, and then shortly after this YouTube channel, and my throat chakra started opening. And now I feel like my heart and my solar plexus are opening. Those are really difficult openings for me. My heart will open and it closes. And just, I feel that happening. And same with my solar plexus. I've always had such a closed heart. And I feel like it wasn't until I started asking something higher, whether you want to call it God, the universe, life's intelligence, your higher self, your soul, it doesn't matter the label. What matters is how you feel. What matters is what's true to you. And what matters is the humility for you to surrender yourself into something greater, something higher. And the humility and the courage to ask something higher to come into you and to speak through you, as you, to act as you. And just to ask God, ask the universe to wake up in you as you. Because we all are God, we all are the universe. There's no separation. We try to create this separation with the ego we try to fool ourselves. But that's the ego's it's not the path. If we're stuck in the ego, we're going to be stuck in that void that you're talking about, that I've experienced. I still experience it a lot. That flatness, I experience it a lot. And then the movement is always, okay, I must not be open in my heart. And then it's prayer, it's asking, it's meditation, and being honest with oneself. I don't know if that answers the question. Yeah, that's the movement, and that's a tough move. That can take a while, and it's a process, but that's my experience, That's what happened for me. That's how I came out of this period, and I hope this is helpful. I think, in talking to you, you're doing great, and this will be a natural evolution for you. At some point, it's just going to feel... That's what the Kundalini is here for, truthfully. It's here to bring you into this vast understanding, this vast openness of something higher. And it's the Kundalini. It is you in so many ways, but it's also burning away and disintegrating the parts of you that are false and the parts of you that are psychological constructs, and the parts of you that you're evolving away from and evolving out of. You have a fight or flight nervous system. We all do. And the next part of evolution is to evolve beyond that. And I found that calling in something higher really helps facilitate this process. It helps you feel guided and supported more than you ever could have, and it definitely takes you from the void. That much will happen for sure. So thanks for the question, and namaste, you guys. Have a great day.